What are the 3 essential factors for breeding discus success? What are the optimal water parameters for breeding discus? And what is the next step for this bonded pair? Alright, so these are the pair that I bred myself. They are a cross between a wild blue-faced Namunda Heckle and a red turquoise Heckle cross. These discus are exactly 399 days from the day they were hatched to the day they laid eggs. So almost 400 days to get them from egg to breeder. That's pretty quick. You know, that's under 15 months, and that's kind of the going number. Now what happens usually when they breed this early is they don't take care of their babies, or they don't have great spawns. Now these guys have been together for about 5 days, but they were in the tank together probably about, well, it's been 15 days since the last video when I set this tank up. So 15 days from setup to wigglers, okay? Now they are in this tank as far as a pairing tank, not a breeding tank. But what I've done is I've built a solid divider here so they can have the best chance of taking care of these fry. Because one thing I've noticed is, and this is what I'm going to tell you guys over and over again, it's better they bond than trying to put 2 discus together. What happens when you do that, when you force a pair together, is they're not bonded. So one thing with these guys is both of them are taking care of the fry. They've actually moved them twice, and I watched both of the parents move them. When this screen was open, so I took when I didn't have the solid on, the male was guarding the screen, so doing his job, doing the guy thing, protecting the area, and the female was fanning and taking care of the eggs. And that's a nurturing. So it's no different than us. You know, we protect and the female nurtures. That's just the way it is in nature, and that is a great sign. They're on their 4th day from laying the eggs, and the fry are looking good. I averaged between 120 and 150. Excellent for their first spawn. But one thing I noticed was I had this current going up top a little hard. Probably didn't get a good fertilization because of the current. 3 essential factors in my opinion, and this is years of testing these products before I released them out to the public, right? Last thing I want to do was make a claim and didn't have evidence to back it up. So number 1, the fulvic acid. Fulvic acid can go in tap water, but it's designed to go in more of a neutral setting. So what did I use the fulvic acid for these guys? Basically I was doing the vitamins with the blackworms and then the couple drops of fulvic acid. It was great because it just helps their immune system, and these guys are solid. Now I'm going to talk about medicated. All these fish have been fully medicated. Now they've done all 3. They've done the levamisole, they've done the metronidazole, and they've done the praziquantel. So I am 99% sure that these guys are clean, right? And that's important because I do not want them to be spreading any diseases to their fry, because I can take their fry out, put them in their own tank, and I know they're clean, right? Is there a chance of cross-contamination? There is. But the fulvic acid helps their immune system stay solid, where I believe they can fight it off to a certain degree. Okay? So fulvic acid, number 1. That is something that is new on the market, something that I learned about 2 years ago, something that I had made that I bought. I believe in it so much, I went and bought a 50-gallon barrel of it. So you guys can buy it. You don't have to buy it. It's not a big deal. But I will use it on all my breeders from here going forward. But not only that, my young fish will get it in their food. Okay, so factor number 2. What is the second factor that has helped breeding so quick, healthy fish, but also growing fish? It's the foods. I don't care what you say. You feed your fish a bunch of filler crap, over-the-counter PetSmart food. They will not thrive like this. Believe me, I went years and years and years trying to supplement my fish and trying to get them to get super healthy on these store-bought food that are just crap, man. I cannot stand when I cannot pronounce an ingredient in a food. It just drives me up the wall, and that's not just fish. That's for my dogs, my chickens, me, my family, right? If I don't know what it is and I have to search it, I'm really not interested. I like natural organic foods. I try to buy foods from farmers. So real foods, all my foods. These guys have not seen anything but my foods. Am I saying they're the best foods on the market? Pretty much, because I've tried them all. I've tried everything. It's freaking insane what I was getting in my room. The only product that I really like that's commercially available is Sheller Products. They are a German company. The Europeans are just ahead of us about 10 years, right? They are just a little bit ahead as far as quality, right? They understand that quality. So Daily Delight, they've gotten all the bells. They get a lot of blackworms. The blackworms add fat. Now, you have to understand what these females have to go through to lay eggs. The amount they have to put out energy and their body takes a hit when they lay eggs, because they're putting everything they produce goes into those eggs, right? And then what else it does is it allows the male's milk to be even more productive. The fulvic acid allows the food to get to the cells, right? So you're using real food, you're using the fulvic, it blends, they're synergenic, right? So they work together, and that's the secret to this happening in 15 days. So, and also they're breeding in 399 days from egg to spawn. Third factor, bonding. I can't stress enough how important it is that they pick their partner, because these guys, this is their first attempt and they're doing everything right. I go through it all the time where one fish is not exactly 100% healthy and it doesn't want to do what it needs to do as far as taking care of the fry. And so I leave this bell in most of the day, right? And what you'll notice is they're not eating it all the time, because their focus is on that fry, and that's what I want to see. If they're both coming up and attacking that bell, then I know they aren't quite there as parents. But if you notice, they watch those fry and they don't want anything coming near them, and they know these other fish are here. They can feel the vibrations, they can sense the hormones. They know these fish are here. And actually I got another pair coming up in this, a pretty amazing pair that are starting to pair up, and they'll be probably ready in about 10 days. But that 15 days is pretty much perfect, right? That's what we want to see. That's usually by the time a fish spawns, they raise the fry, they let those fry eat off their sides. It's about 3 weeks, and then as that 3 weeks goes away, we pull those fry away. Within 10 to 15 days, they spawn again, and it's pretty consistent, right? 10 to 20, but that 15 is a good number, and that's exactly where they're at. So we have the fulvic acid. I 100% believe in it. I've been using it for 2 years. The production has been amazing. Real foods, another thing, I just could not get quality spawns off of store-bought foods. Just couldn't do it. So now my foods are the only thing these guys have eaten, and I will go forward and never feed them anything else. And what's nice is I'll keep producing new foods, new formulas. Third, bonding. They have to bond themselves, right? Now this will be a series, and it could be a 6-month series, it could be a 1-year series, but when this series is done, it'll go into a playlist of breeding discus, because there's no way possible I can answer all the questions in one video. It's impossible. There's so many little nuances that have to happen. There's so many different issues that come up that need to be taken care of. So that's the thing with this is a process, and you guys are going to go on the process. So if you really want to learn about this, in 6 months, hopefully I'll have a good playlist ready, and you can follow that playlist of breeding discus, and it can give you a good direction. Am I going to tell you that you're going to get success like this all the time? No, because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, because I was this guy, right? You're going to want to start interfering with them, like, oh, what else can I do? The best thing you can do is let them do it. I know there's guys that don't want black sponges, and they want to make sure everything is all, there's no dark in there. It's just, they figure it out. The fry figure it out. And here's what's happened before with the black sponge, is I've had fry living on that black sponge and eating off the parents and going to that black sponge back and forth. So when you see that, It's not necessarily a bad thing because they're eating bacteria off that sponge. So the best thing you can do as a discus breeder is just leave them alone. Once you start monkeying around and you start trying to, do stuff, they're gonna get stressed and they're gonna eat their babies. Trust me, I know when you're starting, it gets exciting. You see these fry and you want to make sure they're gonna survive. You're gonna have failures. They could turn around and eat those fry in 10 minutes and I will be like, okay, now we set up their breeding situation. One thing you want to do when breeding discus is not put a lot of light on them. Alright, so what are the optimal water parameters? Okay, I'm going to go over this a little bit, and it's going to be in general, and I'm going to talk about this in all of the installments. And I would imagine there'll probably be 10 to 12 to 15 installments of this, because I'm going to take you all the way through, and then I'm also going to take you through on growing the fry out correctly. But, optimal. These guys are sitting at a 6'4". Is that perfect? As long as it's above 5'6" and below 7'2". So the higher it goes into the neutral and above, you'll notice your spawns will start to diminish a little bit. That 6'6" is, I would consider that perfect, right? 6'4". Don't go chasing parameters, because once you start monkeying with everything, you're gonna mess it up. There's no way. The best thing to do is put natural RO water. Try not to do water changes. If you have to do water changes, you should do 5-10 gallons, and then you let that water go up a little, and then as the fish eat and go to the bathroom, that pH drops, right? But as you add water, it goes up. So you're doing this. You're not doing this, right? We don't want to see this. But you can even let it drop to a 6, put a 7-10 gallon, and it'll go to 6.2, right? So it's constantly figuring out not to mess with the parameters that much. Once it goes in at a 7, it's a neutral. I know that it drops, and so they're at a 6.4. Now, ppm. I don't do ppm. I do microsiemens. So that's the difference. It's just something that I was taught by other breeders to always go with microsiemens. But the ratio is 40 to 80 microsiemens. At 100 microsiemens, you want to start bringing that hardness down a little bit, right? So 80 microsiemens is 44 parts per million, okay? I had to look that up because I don't know what that is, right? Now, would you be okay at 60 parts per million? Yes, probably. Would you be okay at 45 parts per million? Definitely, right? It's more about trying to keep it in that range, because what happens is you have better success in those ranges. It's not to say that you won't be successful if you go above. Now, below you really don't want to, because you can get crashing, and there's crushed coral, and I'll go over that in future videos, because that's when I set up the tank and everything, and that just allows it from not crashing. Okay, so what's the next step for this bonded pair? Well, they're going to stay in there. I'm not going to touch them. If they can make those fish get to their sides and they start feeding them in 2 weeks, probably about 10 days, I'll start feeding them baby brine shrimp. And here's the thing is, I will be offering all these products. So you have to see my nightlight that I designed. This is a year, and just so it's durable. And this nightlight is something that I will have on my website once I get all the breeding stuff in. And this just makes sure that when they wake up in the morning, they're still aware of those fry. But it's a blue light, right? So it's a moonlight. It's not a direct light, and it doesn't have to be right on the edge. It just has to glow the area. So that'll be something. I'll provide the crushed coral. I'll provide the Fulvic that I already do. I will provide the peat bags that go into my barrels, and I'll go over all that in the future. So the next step, they're just going to ride this out. Hopefully I can get them to stay in there. It'd probably be 3 weeks before I pull those fry out, and they'd go into probably a 20, depending on the size, maybe a 10, I don't know, depending on how many there are. I want a lot of fish in a tight area, and I'll go over that in a future video. But it's exciting, and the next step will be they'll go into the breeding tanks. Now, if you want to see that, you should subscribe, because this whole series will be coming, and the last thing I want to do is rush it, right? I know there'll be questions, and that's fine. Give me some questions, because that way I can maybe make a video and answer some of those questions, and hopefully that'll help from a different perspective, because I have my perspective and you might have your perspective, or you might have your questions that I'm not answering. This is a process. This is what I talk about when I say about patience. You have to be patient with these guys, and don't start messing with them. They know what to do instinctively. They know what to do. And when you see parents sharing the responsibility, and one's eating, one's guarding, one's protecting, one's nurturing, that is what we call a bonded pair. So I am so lucky that these guys, I've had these guys, you know, since they were eggs. So I can go up to the tank and they know who I am. There's no issue as far as them spooking. I can stick my hand in there. But if you got a new pair that you bought from someone else and you think you can pull this off and be around this tank right now, and as soon as they spook, that's when you're probably going to lose the fry. Because when they get stressed and they think that they're under attack, they tend to just eat those fry. Are you going to get it the first time them spawn? Probably not. This is lucky. I've had them do it once. It's happened probably out of 1,000 times. It's probably happened 50 times where they got once. Usually about the third or fourth time they start to figure it out, right? But I've had up to 10 times. I've had discus that spawned. They've had wigglers, so I knew they were a male and a female, but they just didn't get past, so they just weren't good parents. So what is the next step? Again, let them go. But if you want to see the next step, how I set up their breeding tanks, what size tanks I use, how I put in my filtration, what's the heat. Oh, so the heat on this tank is, I always recommend 82 to 84 degrees. So I forgot that. 82 to 84, they're sitting at 84 degrees. They like it a little bit warmer, but not too warm, right? But when the fry get pulled, they go into 88. This is exciting. 15 days from the start of setup. And I'm telling you guys, this system works real well, right? This is how I always have done it. I had to learn it, but it works real well. And you get true bonded pairs and you have high success. All right, so this all started because we set this tank up as a pairing tank. If you want to see that video, check it out here. It'll kind of go through the setup process and where we've begun this journey. Take care, you guys. Bye.